Spider-Man Brand New Day swung in with promise and pride.
A darker, stronger Peter forced to take life in stride.
But the ending lets a killer walk and murders accountability.
There is no power in this movie and no responsibility. This movie was a disappointment.
And we will be getting into spoilers soon, but to give our general impressions of it, I really had high hopes for this movie. I liked what I was seeing in the trailers. I liked what they were setting up. It looked interesting. And you know what? There were problems with it, but in the beginning of the movie, for the first over half the movie, they got me.
Yeah, for acts 1 and 2 were great. Like it felt like a proper Spider-Man movie. Act 3 is what was disappointing.
Yeah, and honestly, really hurt the movie for me. If I was going to give my rating on it, which I've already given online, I would give it, unfortunately, I have to give the movie a 6 out of 10. I want to give it a 7 out of 10, but I can't. It's a 6 out of 10 if I'm being nice.
No, I give it a 5. 5 out of 10. I cannot even give it a 6. That's how disappointed I was. The movie ended and we were just like,
that's it.
We felt nothing. We felt nothing in the third act except disappointment.
The MCU has a major problem, and it's exemplified a lot in how this movie ends versus how it begins. But with that in mind, we will be getting into spoiler territory. We're not going to do a play-by-play, but we have some notes taken down, and we're going to go through it and kind of give our take and then, reaffirm our opinions at the end.
All right, so spoilers incoming in 3, 2, 1. Beep.
We've noticed you've been attending Gothic therapy for quite some time. There is the matter of your bill.
I'm mathing! Your outstanding balance is $1,864.
Well, so much for that.
Tell you what, why don't you subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll call it even.
Gothic therapy, serving the insane since 2015.
All right, so let's rip off the bandage right away, okay? If you're still here at this point, you asked for it. Let's rip off the bandage away. The villain of the movie is Jean Grey.
Yep.
Okay, let's go through the notes because there's a lot I liked about this movie.
I mean, I didn't really start writing the notes until maybe 20 minutes in, but...
Because there wasn't much to write about. It was good.
I know!
If you've seen the trailers and you've seen him fighting a lot of different villains or whatever, you don't get to see much of that in the movie. Unfortunately, It's more of a montage. For some reason, the suit is nice looking, but it's got a built-in AI interface and very technologically advanced, which isn't really explained of how Peter has the money for that. But whatever.
Or resources.
And it's a shame because a lot of people's criticisms of the first couple ones was that he was basically Iron Boy. And I kind of hoped we would see it in a different direction. It wasn't bad by any means, but it didn't take me out of it. But I could understand why some people didn't like it.
Yeah, same. It felt like he wasn't really his own man still. The first instance we get of the villain is the fact that it's a body jumper.
So I really like how they portray this. At first, I was a little bit taken aback because I had an idea who the villain was going to be because it was kind of talked about widely everywhere. I liked how they portrayed her powers by having her jump from body to body. It was an interesting way to portray it. And at first, as I said, it was a little bit jarring. But then once I got used to it, I found it was actually quite clever. Mm-hmm. And they did a good job with that, which I actually have to give them props for. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's not something you really expect to see from a telepath. But it made us, for a moment, it actually made us think it was somebody else.
I actually thought the villain was going to be Mr. Sinister. Or sorry, Mr. Negative. Sorry.
I mean, there was a point when we did think Sinister might be involved.
Yes, but I honestly thought if it wasn't going to be Jean Grey, it was going to be Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, that would have been nice.
Not Mr. Sinister, Mr. Negative. Why do I keep saying Mr. Sinister? Darn.
Frank's introduction was great. I had a decent setup.
So, unfortunately, I really liked in the beginning of how the relationship between Frank and Peter was really good until the end where it wasn't.
Yeah, they ruined Frank at the end. Again. Yelena is in this movie as an exposition dump.
Okay, I'm going to go on a limb and say this, and this is going to get people mad at me. Yelena is a terrible character. I'm sorry. She is. She's a terrible character. Okay. And she brings absolutely nothing to this film. If you cut her scenes without even adding any new ones, you literally lose nothing. I'm going to tell you how stupid this is. She's in a spa, and that's her office. So she's naked, but you don't get to see anything, obviously. And she demands that Spider-Man strip and get in there too to be in her office so she can check him for not having weapons. It's basically played off like a whole comedic little bit. And she gives him exposition that he doesn't need. Okay. And then he goes to damage control, which is the main recurring plot point of the movie. Yeah. But like, you could cut both her scenes and they absolutely do nothing to the movie. There was zero reason for her to be there except, look, it's a character. This is in the MCU. We want you to like this character. And it's like, no, I don't like this character. Stop shoving her in my face.
Seriously, there was no need for her to be there. And that whole scene, if you reverse the roles, everyone would be just screaming sexual harassment. Okay, and then then we guessed who the other villain was immediately. When he just showed it, remember? When he just showed up conveniently?
Oh, yes. Spider-Man's trying to get into... The movie centers around damage control, the place that picks up after, like, heroes or whatever, and Spider-Man's trying to get in there to talk to them because the Mind Jumper's looking for something in... Or the Mind Jumper, aka Jean, is looking for something in damage control. And when he tries to go in, they demand he take off his mask, and Spider-Man says he's not going to do it, and they all pull guns on him until... the head honcho guy comes in, and as soon as he came in, I'm to save him from being shot. I'm like, he's the villain.
Yeah, it was like, well, that's too convenient. Do we want to talk about the confusion around VMAX or the fact that Peter stalks Ned?
Oh yeah, so they do this montage where they show like Peter fighting all these villains and whatever. And the thing that they don't make very clear, guys, is that this is actually supposed to be about 4 years since the end of No Way Home. And for 4 years, he spent his time like watching the videos that Ned puts out and whatever, and seeing him and MJ progress to,
through school,
MIT. And it's kind of weird because like you'd think he moved on a little bit from there. I understand that they have Zendaya and Ned in the movie and they want to do all that garbage. I get it. But like, I would like to have seen him like kind of move on, like in another way. But it's just him burying himself in his work, and we see him like interact with a couple cool villains that you never get to see again. And then that's pretty much it.
So then Peter starts mutating because of emotional disturbances. His spider DNA starts taking over his human DNA, kind of like the lizard.
Which was really cool, and I liked it. Unfortunately, it is a plot thread that is never addressed. Never has a closed ending to it, which is really unfortunate.
At least not a proper closing.
Now, maybe they're planning to do something with it in the future. But like they do a big portion of the movie around this, and then it just kind of gets dropped at the end. He's just able to bond with it, and he's able to accept his evolution. But like we shown his evolution's like very unstable and triggered by strong emotions, right? So it should be a problem, and suddenly it's just not.
Yeah, how convenient and contrived. All right, and then when he is trying to get the hang of this mutation, because we know from the trailer he gets organic webbing, he makes some funny callbacks to Raimi Spider-Man, saying that Peter or Spidey 2 had organic webbing. How hard can it be?
And then he goes, "Go web," just like go away web, up a bit away.
He starts doing that. They're trying to get the webbing out. And fails.
No, he then ends up falling. Now, I was going to say he ends up catching himself and falling on the floor. But that was such a missed opportunity because he's wearing like he ends up mutating, he ends up falling, and you could see him in the image there. He was falling, right? And he ends up falling and catching himself before he falls with the organic webbing, right? Before he gets the hang of them and whatever. And he lands on the floor pretty hard. And all I wanted him to do was go, "My back, my back." I wanted that so bad, and they didn't give it to me. And I'm like, I would have made that scene so much better.
It was a missed opportunity. Okay, and then Peter goes, instead of going to Daredevil to learn about how to deal with heightened senses, he goes to Mark
Which they are part of his mutation.
Yes. He goes to university to speak with Dr. Banner.
Yay, we get to see Mark Ruffalo.
Except we didn't hate him this time.
Look, I don't like Mark Ruffalo. I hate how he talks online. He's a terrible person. He doesn't end up treating people nicely. But you know what? He wasn't terrible in this film.
No, he was actually his role was actually pretty decent.
I do find it funny that he's trying to teach a class and all of them just want to ask him questions about Avengers.
Oh, and one of them, wait, and one of the students actually asked a very valid question. Thanos wanted to help the fix the population issue. Why didn't he just make more food?
And then Professor Banner's brilliant answer is to point at one of the students who's green with black hair and say, "What's the answer?" The student goes, "Hulk smash!" And that's the answer.
And everyone cheered. But it was a very valid question. Why didn't Thanos just make more food instead of wiping out half the universe?
It's a good question.
They talk about how to inhibit powers.
Yes, and this is one of the biggest plot issues in this film. Peter's trying to inhibit only the things he doesn't like about his evolution, right? But by doing so, he ends up creating a universal inhibitor, a device that just turns off superpowers for anybody. Which
he and Banner did discuss in theoreticals.
Yes, but the problem with this is you've now created, Marvel, you don't seem to realize what you've done. You've now introduced an item that can literally turn off people's powers. And now my biggest question for you is this. Spider-Man, he's going to save the city, right? Against supervillains. So why doesn't he, instead of shooting web, why doesn't he just shoot inhibitors onto his enemies to prevent them from using their powers? Huh?
Also, it's a great way to introduce inhibitor collars on mutants, isn't it?
Yes, but it really bugs me because it looks like it's so easy for him to make, and it's like, okay, like if you had shown me a little bit more time, like it took harder, maybe he needed like Bruce's help, that's one thing.
Yeah, but they only show him doing one test run of the device.
Yeah, and it just works, and it bugs me because it's like, oh, it just turns off everybody's powers, just like that. Okay?
All right, then we have a chase scene between Peter and the mind-jumping villain.
Which was great.
It was brilliant.
Absolutely great.
That was the highlight of the movie, honestly.
Except there's a big issue that is caused by this. But later on, which we'll get to.
No, should we just say it now? Because...
Jean Grey ends up basically jumping around different people. That's what the whole thing about this film. And at one point, she jumps into a guy, talks to Peter, and then has the guy jump into the street in time to get hit by a car, which I'm assuming kills him because it looks like it would kill him. But then later on, we're told that Jean is not a murderer, even though she's murdered people.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
She has literally made people jump off of buildings.
Exactly. If it's not murderer, she's attempted murder at very least.
Or at least manslaughter. So basically, she's just set up as evil.
So Jean is way too evil. She is way too evil in this film, and that is the biggest problem with her character. They want us later on to feel bad for her,
and I just don't. We didn't.
I just don't feel bad for her.
We literally felt nothing. We felt no sympathy for her whatsoever. But one thing that she completely underestimated about herself was trying to use that power on the Hulk.
Later on, after figuring out who Peter is and whatever, she ends up deciding to use her powers on Dr. Banner to take control of him, as unfortunately, we don't get regular Hulk right away. We instead get Dr. Hulk.
Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk, Dr. Hulk, who cares? They suck.
Because it's still a tame Hulk in comparison to actual Hulk. But
and then
we're talking about the Hulk, an entity that cannot be controlled. I remember there was a plot point once where even Loki tried controlling the Hulk and failed. And Loki is a god.
My favorite part is when Mark Ruffalo's just like shrugging off stuff as the Hulk, and then suddenly it clutches his head, and you can see Jean's having trouble, and suddenly he's back to being Banner again. But wait, there's a problem. She broke something, says Bruce. I can't stop him. And he transforms into regular Hulk. And Peter goes, Dr. Banner. He goes, no Banner, no girl, only Hulk.
Yes, because we finally get a proper Hulk who actually does a thunderclap.
Yes, he actually does a thunderclap, which is cool. But then he's basically just gone after a little small fight with Punisher and Peter fighting him. And then he just, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very short.
It's okay, though, because guess what? Jean Grey takes over the Punisher and uses him to try to break into a vault, but it's too late. Peter comes swooping in and gets his inhibitor on her back, and it just works. Jean's power, no work. All
This
turn off.
universal inhibitor that she made, which he tried to put on Hulk, and it failed because his skin was too thick. How did he even know it would work?
He didn't.
Exactly.
The plot needed it to happen.
Okay, and then we get more of Yelena later on for
Again.
more exposition dumping.
Oh my god. Once again, Yelena does not need to be in this movie. You can literally cut her out. He realizes that the guy who's in charge of damage control is lying to him. So instead of just going to damage control to confront him, he instead has a Zoom Skype call with Yelena. I know Skype is dead, but so should the character be. Yelena should also be dead in this movie. I don't want her.
Yes.
Point being, she has a Skype thing so we can have a weird moment with Ned going, "Hi, I'm Ned. I'm a big fan. Hi." Oh, but wait, we forgot to mention, again, we're not doing a play-by-play, but an important part also was that at one point, what's her name? Jean Grey takes control of a guy and whatever, goes through Peter's apartment and finds the note to MJ. And so Peter has to go get MJ because he's going to be in danger. But then Jean Grey actually took over MJ and pretends to remember Peter.
Yes, that was the body jumping chase scene.
Yes, at the end of the chase scene, he gets MJ. He's like, they're all safe. And MJ's like, I feel like I'm remembering whatever. Long story short, it's actually Jean Grey. And after they kiss or whatever, she goes, hold her, Parker. Do you enjoy it? Whatever. So it was kind of a cold twist. And again, I do think Sadie Sink does a good job playing Jean. The problem is I don't like the character of Jean in this movie.
Discussed how it's not a good Jean Grey. And we also discussed how we do not feel bad for Jean.
So what ends up happening is it turns out that Jean has been looking for what's called VMAX, right? But it turns out that Damage Control abducted her sister, Sarah, and Jean found out where to find her because apparently Sarah sent out a giant psychic pulse or whatever at some point. And when Jean's taken by Damage Control and given an inhibitor that she still has from Spider-Man, and they're trying to use it to test to see if they can replicate her abilities, she looks up and sees a vent, and the vent is labeled VMAX because part of the vent label is removed, and it makes Jean realize that Sarah, her sister, died in this room, which makes Jean go absolutely insane, and literally she unlocks telekinesis and puts everybody in a 1 kilometer radius stuck in stasis. Honey? Your mic is dead. I can't hear you.
You said you didn't care about me or my sister, is that so? Well then, no more microphone!
I cannot hear you. Your mic is completely dead. Oh, okay. She's changing mics. Jean Grey has sabotaged Raven's mic from the movie. Just want you to know it's all Jean Grey's fault. Jean Grey reached through this. She was so mad that we don't like her character that she used her mental powers to destroy Raven's mic. Shame. Boo. We don't like you, Jean.
Mm-hmm.
Please confirm for me one very important thing. This was totally because of Jean Grey using her mental abilities to telekinetically affect your mic through our review, right?
Probably. Okay. The next thing that happens is Peter trying to calm Jean Grey down using the words, "You're not a killer."
Yes. So Jean finds out her sister's dead and she goes crazy and keeps everybody in stasis. So Peter's got to go save the day. And he embraces his evolution to do so. And he breaks in and he gets to Jean and he's like, Jean, you're not a killer. we're just going to conveniently forget the guy that, you made jump into the street and all the people you're holding mentally in stasis. Yes, it's literally a repeat of WandaVision. It is literally a repeat of that. They'll never know what you did for them. We just mentally mind controlled them and made them do what you wanted.
Yes, that is where the Disney influence started creeping in. That is what started the disappointment.
You're not a killer, Jean. And then wait. Now that Jean's stronger, she uses her mental powers to go into Spider-Man's mind, and she's confronted with a
memory of MJ talking to him about change.
No, not MJ. A vision of
Aunt May.
Aunt May talking to him,
and him not be about him. Sometimes having to be alone, but he doesn't need to be alone, and
it just conveniently works because Jean just knows this person, and it means so much to her to have random head person talk to her.
It was established that she and her sister were given up by their parents because they couldn't handle kids with powers. And so she gets sad seeing a relative accept Peter for his powers.
I don't know. She suddenly decides to not be a psychopath, but it's too late because Frank's been watching this whole time. And even though he's got a scope and can clearly see that Peter has the situation handled, he fires a bullet.
He snipes,
but Peter senses it coming. So what does he do? He takes the bullet for Jean. I've been hit.
And then
Jean's like, no. And then wait, but Peter's not going to die. Do you want to know why? Because Jean Grey breathes for him.
She uses her powers to keep him alive, which I am pretty sure is not how it's supposed to work.
You think I'm joking? It's not. And as he's hurt, he says, they're going to come for you. You should go. And you're basically saying, hey, Jean, you did all this stuff. Run away before people come for you. What about all the people she's harmed?
Yeah. Conveniently forgotten about.
I don't care that Jean's lost her sister. I don't care. What I think is annoying is this whole movie's message is it's okay to ask for help. Fine. But the core value of Spider-Man is with great power comes great responsibility. And the biggest problem is this movie forgot it.
Yes. That's what part of what was so disappointing. It made the ending so anticlimactic and stupid.
And the problem is with this is that, as I said, if Peter had said, hey, Jean, they're going to come for you, you should turn yourself in. And instead of Frank crying and taking Peter into the hospital because big bad Frank hit Peter and Frank's sad.
That because he forgot Peter has super senses and reflexes and would have taken the bullet because Peter's just that kind of guy. Even if it's a villain. Even if it's a villain about to get shot, Peter would take the bullet because he values life.
But long story short, if Jean had carried him into the hospital and turned herself in, and then you could have had an end credit scene with a guy in a wheelchair rolling up and saying, hey, my name is Charles Xavier. It could have set up a lot.
I'd like to tell you about my school for gifted youngsters.
Instead, Jean Grey gets away with zero repercussions. You heard me correct. She keeps Spider-Man alive and gets away scot-free. There's no search for her. Nobody cares what she did. She's mind-controlled a bunch of humans and made them do a bunch of stuff, but it's okay because she's a woman. If it was a man, it would be bad, but if it's a woman, it's okay, and she gets away without any repercussions for her actions. But Spider-Man is now in the hospital, and they had to cut through his suit to save his life. But Frank has an idea to get him out because everybody is all outside holding vigil for Spider-Man with like, we love you, Spidey, whatever. And Frank puts on Spider-Man's mask and goes to the window and starts making strange poses and waving and going, "Urgh, urgh," so he can distract people so Spider-Man can get away.
Yeah. So Peter can just blend in with the crowd. That was also very cringe.
And then it's okay, though. At the end, right? He learned nothing. MJ doesn't remember him, which, by the way, at a certain point, MJ finds the note and finds out who he actually is, but says like she doesn't remember him anymore, and that the girl that she was would have loved him.
Yeah, but she can't love him because she doesn't know him.
Yes, but long story short, at the end, he's at this other place and he sees Ned. So he goes over to Ned and introduces himself and then does his handshake with Ned. And Ned just somehow remembers to do it because muscle memory and goes, Peter. And then it cuts. So basically they're implying that they're all starting to remember. And then we get the end credit scene that is that sets up something that is so unbelievably terrible.
For context, in the movie, it is established that Ned created an app called Spidey Tracker, which tracks Spider-Man's location. And the end credit scene is literally just the tracker locating Spider-Man. But it slowly zooms. It shows first it starts in New York, then zooms out and out and out until it's just
Spider-Man not
Earth.
found. Spider-Man not found.
Until
Spider-Man not found.
Until it reaches a point in outer space.
And then it goes, Spider-Man found. And it basically sets up what they're doing with Doomsday. Because if you guys don't know, spoilers for anybody who even cares about this anymore, literally what ends up happening is Dr. Doom ends up winning and destroying the multiverse and creating what's called Battleworld, which is a combination of all the different parts of all the different universes. So basically what it's implying that Spider-Man is going to be part of Battleworld.
Yeah. I guess Battleworld.
And that's the movie.
Yeah, that's it. That's everything. More or less.
So the real villain gets away without any repercussions. And yes, the movie does a great job. Tom Holland is great. I actually didn't mind Zendaya and Ned and whatever. I thought they were pretty good.
Everything was good until Act 3.
Jean Grey takes no responsibility for what she's done and takes no accountability. And Peter does not try to get her to either.
Absolutely none.
So literally, in other words, the core value of Spider-Man is it just ignored for the sake of Jean Grey. If Peter had at least tried to get her to turn herself in and then Jean Grey ran away, that'd be one thing. But he literally tells her, you need to go. They're going to come get you. And because of that, I cannot give this movie a higher rating. I want to. I do. I think the beginning parts of the movie, as I said, there are problems. I really want to give it a higher rating. I can't. You cannot ignore that. Just because, quote unquote, we didn't see anybody die does not give her the thing. They're doing the same thing they did with WandaVision. It's not okay to have characters control people against their will, but it's okay because nobody dies. I don't care if nobody died. She needs to take responsibility for what she's done. And what bothers me also is he just becomes one with his evolution, which was unstable, and now it's just fine, and we don't have a conclusion for that.
Yeah. Oh, and we completely forgot about Scorpion.
Yes, because Scorpion was in it for 2 minutes.
But yeah, and so that's why we also don't understand why everyone else is giving it such raving reviews. Why does everyone love this so much?
I understand there's some really good fight scenes. There's some really good acting. And I even think Sadie Sink does a good job as Jean Grey. The problem is she's not good as Jean Grey. And there's more in this movie, like there's the hand that's working for damage control, but they're like a blink and you'll miss it moment in the movie. And as I said, we weren't giving a play for play. But honestly, I'm disappointed in how this movie ended. It took a movie that was, for me, pretty decent and ruined it at the end because it forgot what made Spider-Man Spider-Man. And that's what bothered me the most, is that there were some great scenes, there's great stuff, but no one takes accountability because God forbid a woman in the MCU take accountability. But it's okay, guys. Battleworld's coming. Aren't you excited? No.
No.
Share with your crew. Escape life's hell. From spooky memes to advice obscure. Here's your dark solace with humor as a cure.